Before we start with really expert speakers in the field of cyber forensics and cyber practice itself, I'd just like to give you an overview as to where you're sitting and what we're trying to achieve. The BDO Forensic and Cyber Lab is a joint venture between BDO and FIDS, Forensic Intelligence Data Solutions. We've brought a set of skills together which we think answers the requirements needed in 4 very important areas of forensic work. And what we've built there in our cyber lab, in our forensics lab, are 4 areas of expertise. 1, an advanced analytics laboratory to not only do advanced CATS analytics, but to also use the platforms that have been built and developed over a number of years now to offer you business services in the procurement, revenue enhancement, and claim segmentation or transactional segmentation environment, which will give you the ability to view transactions through a different eye. And using very advanced analytics with data scientists who have worked tremendously hard in building the models and bring it all together in order to understand and establish more information about the data and the increasing data that you have to deal with. We have a cyber practice, and that we've chosen to use as the launch for our laboratory today. A digital forensic practice, where not only are we using state-of-the-art cutting technology, but our focus has been to bring the right manpower into the business, man and woman power into the business, in order to give you the best analysis on the data that you might be looking from a forensic perspective. We also have full e-discovery and forensic capabilities. And what's most important about all of these that we're offering you and we're putting out there today for you to understand and make use of, is that it comes in this illustrious organization, it comes with this illustrious organization. And therefore, compliance, regulatory rules of engagement are secured in the environment where you can feel safe, where often difficult issues that you're dealing with need to be dealt with in a professional and confidential manner. So using the environment here and the resources here, I think should give you that security as well, that you're well taken care of, bringing some of those more intimate problems in your business here for resolution and development. We've also spent a great time thinking about it and partnering with professionals in the industry. If we can't show you cutting-edge technology, we haven't got a chance. If we can't show you people that can assist and understand your business and give you insights that are going to be meaningful, we're not going to stand on our legs for too long either. So we've spent a great time looking for specific partners in order to bring them together in this lab environment in order to offer services to you. And with that, I'd just like to introduce a few of them. Some of them are here and some are not, but what I'd like to introduce you to is first Goldn'Links Cyber. Coming out of Israel, this organization has an enormous amount of professionals dealing with cyber forensics, the hardening of networks, and helping organizations secure their future. If we take data seriously, then having people who understand how data is continually changing and the risks associated with it is going to be essential in your business. It's not a question of whether you can say, it's not important to me. It is important to you. The question is, how long is it going to take before you place that importance on your scale and start acting towards it? We've also partnered with Howden Insurance, who are the largest insurance company in the world offering cyber insurance. And what's so important about that is that when we mitigate risk and we transfer it, we need to be able to transfer that risk to people who understand what to do with it. Not only from a policy perspective and a premium perspective, but understanding what to do and how to act when an event occurs. So when you're talking to your insurance company about an event that potentially can ruin your business, one needs to understand how to engage with that threat. And that has to fall all the way through from your first responders, which we have built the capacity to do, to the insurers who work together to mitigate that risk as best as they can. So you'll hear more from Goldn'Links, Roy and Shai are here, And from the presentation yesterday and the feedback, I think what we're dealing with here is cutting-edge technology that can really help you understand or take back with you the importance of protecting your business assets, or biggest business asset, which is really the data that you have. We've also partnered with PandaCom for digital forensic requirements. And using that technology, we're able to bring you real-time forensic data, which can be analyzed to help you in those cases where you have a significant loss or you have a significant risk to your business. Not only is it about the technology, but why we partnered with them is that they train in the product, they are super users of the product, and they'll be able to make use of the information that can come through any mobile device or laptop or computer in order to give you the information that you're looking for. I've spoken about FIDS, and obviously you know BDO, the organization here, which is placing a tremendous amount of emphasis in the forensic world in general, and therefore building internal capacity to not only assist their own business units, but to assist you as clients in building and developing in the areas that you need to. We're talking about a partnership. We're not trying to hard sell here. We're trying to be a first port of call for you to understand that you have partners who are moving in the areas that you are going to have problems with or be looking to address, and can offer you the assistance that you need in order to get through the issues that you're facing and to build internal competencies to move forward with a sense of success. The last thing I will say, and something that you need to consider, and Charles will talk to it later, is liability of directors and senior staff in businesses now for their data and for the information that companies have. Now, there will be different levels around this table of people understanding their own data and also the consequences of what a data breach might be. But the liability for directors and senior managers is something that you need to understand, and businesses need to actually look at their processes and mitigate that risk as well. So it's not a question again of will I have insurance or how much will it cost. It's that I'm going to have insurance, because if you look at a place like the United States, you won't get directors joining large firms anymore if the liability insurance is not of such a nature to protect them in what they do. And it's coming to South Africa. It's not the question of we can get by without it. It's going to be here.
Thank you very much for attending today. As David mentioned, I head up the IT audit department of BDO. It sits within our Risk Advisory Services, and under Risk Advisory we've decided to build the Cyber Lab, as we call it, which addresses both forensic and cyber. We'll talk a little bit more about cyber just now. One issue that David didn't mention was that we also work with our international partners across the world, and the idea of developing this Cyber Lab was actually the brainchild of Glenn Pomerantz, who's the global head of forensic for BDO in New York. Glenn came with the idea that we should build a cyber lab in Africa because of the opportunities in the continent. So this lab will also work very closely with New York, with London, and with Israel offices. So it's not limited to Johannesburg, but it is a national practice here, and we operate across all the continents. Just talking a little bit about cyber, it's very clear to everyone, I'm sure, that information travels everywhere. You can't stop it today. We actually, as we sit here today, don't even understand the ramifications of what is happening with the information in our pockets, in the phones that we've got, in the tablets that we carry around, on the actual laptops that we walk around with in the bag. You just have to go and sit in a busy airport lounge, and you just scan some of the PCs and the phones there, and you'll be amazed at the amount of information that you can see flying around in the air. Personally, I've had a number of experiences with it. I've had an interest in this my entire life, basically, and I've always played from wireless, Bluetooth, and I followed the technology. So I often go sit in an airport lounge and see whose information I can see. I'll give you a practical example. I was sitting recently in a lounge. I decided, let me have a look at what's going on. I switch on my laptop, I scan, and I have built, I'll be honest, I've built myself a little remote scanner, and I see a guy working away on his laptop. Happened to be Brian Joffrey, Bidvest. I've got the board papers of Bidvest on my laptop now. I went up to Brian and I said, I introduced myself, and I said, do you know that you're exposed? And I showed him what we can do, and we had some conversations about it. So, that's what. Yeah. So, you don't know what information is flying around. You also don't know that anyone can access anything with a little bit of know-how. So it doesn't take much for us as guys with a little bit of know-how to understand what's going on in your cell phones. If I was to say to you today, and many of you have got your cell phones on and are switched on here, we can actually take the data off those phones as we sit now. It would probably scare you a little bit. So just keep it a lot. You should be scared.
I know you, I am.
Tracy and I worked at Liberty Life for many years together. She's a survivor there and she knows what we can do. Okay, so the collective intelligence of humanity is driving the innovation in every direction, and this in itself enables new threats. It's innovation which does damage. To some extent it does us a lot of good, to the other extent it drives the threats. And we have to learn how to cope with these threats. And that was the idea behind putting together the actual risk management of cyber within BDO. And that's what this lab is actually going to address. So we have super empowered individuals with new domains, and they interconnect as never before. The world has become interconnected. Only last night I was talking to guys in New York on WhatsApp. I'm sure everyone around the table here is using WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Facebook I don't go to, but we know how connected people are there. And it's becoming a dangerous space to live in, and therefore we have to emphasize the need for the protection that's required if we're going to survive this. And what's happening also is the unlimited combinations that create unforeseen consequences. I've just received on my watch a message about what's going on with Apple and the FBI now as we speak. So, we're not only walking around now with phones, we're walking around with little Apple watches where we see messages live all the time. And those consequences impact on stock prices, they impact on everything that's happening in the markets. And if we don't address it, we're going to end up in trouble. What I'd like to do is just show you a very quick 1-minute little video clip, and then we'll continue. So Albert Einstein had the insight to this many years back. This is how it's developed. Okay, so if you look at the time scale that we showed you on that video, you'll understand how fast technology is moving. If I was to say by show of hands around the table here, who remembers the time when there were no cell phones? I'm pretty sure every single one of us remembers that. If you talk to our children, they can't remember the time before there were cell phones. They think, what happened? What did you do before the cell phone? Well, it's no longer even cell phones anymore. We're moving to the point where people are embedding chips into humans, and every person walking around will have an IP address. That's real. It's happening now. I've seen it myself. So, obviously, we've got to agree that cyber risk is a threat to all of us. So companies, no, they're just about off. In fact, it's not a bad idea to chip them as they're born, because then we can track where they're going. So companies are increasingly also facing the risks, because they have to address the first party and the third party risks, and the damage to business that can happen instantaneously overnight is something we need to be aware of. And that calls for the key areas of disaster recovery. We have to be able to react quickly to the cyber threats. So if we understand it, it's not so complicated as one thinks. Basically, it hurts your organizations in more than one way. It's not confined only to technical. That's an important point. We have to say that you have to include this in all the training we do, in everything we do today, whether it's HR, whether it's finance, whether it's technology, wherever it is, cyber is there, and you have to have it throughout your entire organization. And you have to include it in all your training programs, and everyone has to be made aware. So awareness of the problem throughout organizations is critical. If it's not addressed, then the exposures are going to lead to incidents that will actually ruin any organization. And I've actually seen personally how it can damage organizations which are no longer around. So what we've done in devising our risk management strategies and preparing for this is throughout a number of years at BDO, and in conjunction with our international offices, we've developed a model for dealing with it. And we start off with defining what the problem is. To do that, we've introduced a whole lot of software that we bought, originally written in Australia and further developed across in the States and in fact here in South Africa. And we've built a whole lot of models where we can actually model the threats, the risks, the controls, and the consequences of the threats using structured models that we now have in place and have been set in place over the last 5 years. I personally have been working with that software for the last 15 years, right from the Liberty Life days, where they were one of the first people to implement it. Donnie Gordon was one of the first guys who had the foresight to say, Graham, go out, get the software, build the risks frameworks in Liberty Life. And it started all then, and I've travelled the road with that software from the days when Donnie was still the doyen of the industry. What we then do is we actually monitor and learn using some intelligence how the risks are actually affecting businesses. So we don't rush into everything straight away. We take the software, we model the risks, we then monitor what's happening. We sit back and we watch what's going on. And then eventually, using our data analytics capability, we detect the abnormalities in the data. We're then able to prevent them, because we can then put in some controls to prevent what's going on. Then we go back into the define cycle, we redefine and we relearn what's happened, and only then we come back and decide what we'll allow to happen in the business and what we'll transfer out of the business. We'll talk just now a little bit about allowing and transferring the data and the risks in terms of what we call a 4T approach. So with regards to risk, we can either tolerate and do nothing. We can either decide we don't want to be in that business or terminate that business. Or we can treat by adding more control and finally we can transfer. And those are the 4 T's that in the BDO model we've decided to use, and very successfully. So at the very least, we need to make sure that you actually can treat the cyber exposures and you have the capability to understand what is actually going on in order to apply the 4T model. So what you have to take into account is the level of cyber activity in your business. And if I was to say to everyone around the table here, can you now accurately define the level of cyber activity in your business? It would be very difficult to do without having done the workshops that we do. You've got to understand within the business what the privacy requirements are. You've got to, most importantly, understand what the complexity of the systems is and what the maturity of those systems is. Without understanding complexity of systems and maturity of systems, you're not going to be able to define what the level of cyber activity is. Everyone rushes to the new software. So it's human nature. As Windows 10 comes out, everyone wants to get onto Windows 10. But you don't actually understand the back doors that Windows has in Windows 10. No one has tried and tested it. Everyone's moving now, the latest thing, they want to have Linux on there, they want to have Apple, they want to have, but they haven't actually assessed how important it is. And it even gets worse when you have home configured systems. So now we can talk a thing about bring your own device. Well, Roy will talk a little bit later about bring your own disaster. I'll leave that to him. But you've got to understand that everyone today, human nature, rushing for the most modern things. You've also got a new animal in the whole environment, and that is the growth of social media. Social media today is becoming one of the biggest problems for the leakage of information in businesses. Without a proper policy and procedure to address social media, you actually don't have any information in your business. For the lawyers in the room, one of the best cases I've seen of social media going wrong was the case of an article clerk who all she did was a legal article clerk, took a picture of her desk, that's all she did, and posted it on Facebook. The result of that was there were 2 files on her desk. There was a merger going on between 2 multinational firms, and the minute she posted that on Facebook, everyone saw file A and file B, and it was exposed. The stock price rose like we've never seen before. Out of an innocent little incident where a young girl, took a picture of her desk, posted on Facebook, look how busy I am. That's all she did. And that's what social media can do. So in terms of social media, you have to also then consider the compliance requirements. If we've got to manage compliance, we have to actually manage the social media, we have to manage the actual electronics of the cyber, so it all ties together. But now the big thing is everyone rushes out and they want to be on the cloud. So the big hype now is all go on the cloud. Safe to be there. Google gives you free space as much as you want. iCloud gives you as much space as you want. Everyone is transferring in cyberspace. But we don't actually understand what would happen if tomorrow the Google cloud was attacked. You come to work, our data is gone. Exactly. So, you've got to take all of this into account when designing your policies, your procedures, and your strategy for dealing with cyber. And lastly, we want to talk a little bit about the Internet of Things and the Internet of You. Until 2 years ago, there was only the Internet of Things. That was the big thing. You could have a smart TV in your house, you could control it with your cell phone, you could control your oven, your lights at home. Fully automated, that's the Internet of Things. Everything is connected. I mean, cars today, for instance, you drive a BMW today, it's connected full time to the Internet. They can actually see how the car is performing live as you drive. I was driving the other day, I get a message, don't worry, we're upgrading your software while I'm driving. So that's the Internet of Things. But now, the Internet of You has arrived. Within the last 2 years, the Internet of You has come to the fore. So if you see everybody today walking around with Fitbits, they're walking around with Apple Watches. A good example, I like cycling, I do a lot of cycling. You go around the cradle in Europe, you come back and you look at your watch on Strava, which is one of the applications, and you see, you were riding with 15 other guys, and here's all their times, here's all their data. It's unbelievable who's tracking you. You go into a parking lot, you swipe your card to get into the parking lot or a gym or wherever, that data is captured. Everyone can track everyone today. So that's the Internet of You. So, what you need to do is assess in terms of priority. You can't deal with all this in one hit. So what you have to do is you have to rate the most important issues that you need to address, and particularly in business. And then you've got to understand what's causing the actual problems. So we move to the cause of the problems. First and foremost, is it a lack of management? And when we talk about management, we say, are the issues with management actually the policies and procedures? Are our policies and procedures up to date? And not only with dealing with cyber, but just general business policies and procedures. Have we got them updated regularly? Are they easily accessible? Have the people read them? Basics, we go back to basics there. And what we're finding in business, and I've spoken to our guys in Israel, in New York and London, is the same trend across the world. Policies and procedures get put in a drawer, no one addresses them, and they're not kept up to date. Is there misuse of technology? How do we actually control who's using our technology? We give everyone a laptop, we give everyone a phone, we give them memory sticks. Do we actually know what they're walking around with? Do we know what they're using it for? We've had cases, I've been involved with guys who run businesses out of their offices while employed in an organization. We don't know what our people are doing. So what that all boils down to is, are our staff educated and are they motivated and do they understand what the cyber exposure is about? Can we actually control through education and through being open and honest, having an integrity that can lead to the control of this problem? So what our lab now is able to do, and this was one of the main reasons, we saw the opportunity to provide services to businesses where they are unable to dig through the details and understand what's going on in the data. We now have the capability to provide you the ability to dig through this detail and find the devil in the detail. I've talked a little bit about the strategy, but I just want to reiterate that once you've identified all these risks, you then have to have a strategy as to how to deal with them, and that's where we tolerate, we treat, we terminate, or we transfer. And this becomes the way that we work with our clients to mitigate all the control risk or the cyber risk in a business. So, in introducing what we actually have built together with FIDS and Goldn'Links, what we've actually done is we've built here in BDO, in conjunction with our partners and also with the guidance from New York and Israel offices, we've built a cyber laboratory, we've put it in place, we've got real-time operational and cyber incident alert capability. We can do continuous monitoring on systems. So we can actually place a little computer the size of a cell phone within our clients' systems. That little box sits there and it just monitors what's going on. We write scripts to identify what to look for, and we give it a little bit of artificial learning capability. So it has some intelligence and it's starting to pick up trends as transactions happen. And that's what we call active machine learning and modeling. Eventually we end up with a model that can tell us when something's going wrong. What then happens is we can actually react timelessly. So auditing has moved from a reactive approach to a proactive approach. We can finally, what we'll be able to do is detect when things are about to go wrong, when false claims are going to be processed, when data is going to be stolen. So we're trying to move to the future. Now, all of this would normally be very invasive in a business. So what we've made sure of that it is the least impact on installation. We can actually go into businesses, place the devices within the systems with very little invasive sort of action. And we call that zero impact installation. There obviously is some learning capability. We have to understand the business systems and that, but once we've done that, we're able to introduce the technology. So what the lab actually looks like is we have 4 elements, as David mentioned earlier. We have the cyber practice. The cyber practice is one of the key components. That's where we can actually do the hard work, where we can do the penetration testing, where we can actually look at network security, where we can actually see the probability of someone penetrating from the outside. We can see the security of the data there. That's the cyber practice. On the forensic side, we recognized right at the outset with Glenn Pomerantz and his introduction of this idea that there was a need for forensic activity in this area. And what we're wanting to do, and what we have done overseas, is we've partnered with law firms where we have a piece of software called Relativity. BDO worldwide has a global license for it. It's an e-discovery tool. And what we're able to do with Relativity is take cases right from birth to death, basically. We can take all the data, we can analyze the data, we can put it in this black box, and we can prepare the dockets for court, all through e-discovery in the attorney's offices. So what happens is we get a box with the software on it, a computer box with the software on it. We've got people who will be trained in it, and we have been trained in it. They would then sit in the law firm's offices with the computer, not connected to any internet or anything. They then can run the entire case with the lawyers in their offices where they enjoy client-attorney privilege, and we can then present the cases to court and help them take it through the courts. So the forensic side of the laboratory is ready to go with the global sort of support from our offices, New York, London, Israel, and those are very experienced forensic practitioners there who are guiding us through this laboratory here. We then have digital forensic, and that's the ability where we can, if there's a case today, all the evidence is going to be digital. We have the capability to go out, seize machines, seize phones, tablets, whatever device is being used, suck the data out of that machine, bag and tag the machine, and make it all above board and legal. Once the data has been taken off the device or the offending devices, we're then able to analyze exactly who's been talking to who's been involved in this, what are the number of calls between each other. So we used to do this on a table as long as this with a brown paper exercise. We used to manually plot who phoned who and how did this actual crime happen. Today, we have the capability to do it electronically. So the days of the brown paper exercise, we used to put it out on this table like this, are no more, and we can do it much faster. As far as advanced analytics goes, we're able to do very advanced analytics in that we can now take any size data, we can dig in that data and look for whatever trends we're looking for. We're able to analyze it to find the important stuff, reject what's not important, sift through it very quickly. And because of the capability of the supercomputers that we use today, it's reduced audit time significantly. So what we're able to do in terms of investigation and in terms of just regular audit is run the analytics to highlight 100% of the issues. So where we used to do auditing on sampling-based stuff, we finished with that. We now can do 100% coverage, and we can talk a little bit about that just now. If you look how this splits out, you can see some of the services, and you'll see at the end, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but you can see exactly the type of analytics that we can do. And right on the blue circle here, you can see who the clients are. But the most important things that we can do is we can take, for instance, a procurement review. We can take a factory. We can see exactly from start to finish now, exactly who bought what, how many people were involved in actually running their own businesses through the procurement processes. We can see what family members are involved, and we can actually detect fraud and inefficiencies. So although our role is not to initially go out and detect fraud, we can improve efficiencies in the operations using the analytics. In terms of the cyber practice, we look at all these aspects. So we do a lot of, first and foremost, the penetration testing, the network security. We look at the data access and governance. We'll look at compliance, and right through to incident handling and response. And I think David alluded to how important it is when you establish that you've now had an incident, the critical time is to react immediately, to seize the evidence at the time that you identify you've had the incident. And that's where the speciality has been built into this thing as well. In terms of the forensic side, I've talked a lot about the investigation side. We've looked at profiling, but the big part that I'd like to emphasize here is the ability to provide litigation support, and that using our e-discovery tool, Relativity. E-case management, managing the cases now electronically. And that, in a nutshell, is what we've introduced to you today. I'm going to hand over to Roy, who's now going to introduce a little bit more about cyber forensics and cyber security. Thank you, Roy.
Morning, everybody. My name is Roy. Shalom. I'm coming from Israel. I'm the CEO of a company called Goldn'Links Cyber, and I'm very happy to have you over here. And we'd like to start with a strange question. Who has a driver license? Obviously, you all got trained. Obviously, you learn how to drive. Is that correct? Sorry? Oh, you can buy them here. Well, that's good. But I want to ask you a simple question. By learning to drive, obviously somebody taught you to the dangers that you have in the road. Obviously, it's not relevant to South Africa. That's the only country in the world that you have robot, potholes, bridge collapsing, taxi drivers. But at the end of the day, there are serious problems over here. Do you feel that you are aware of the threats that in the driving industry? You are. Normally the newspaper, or let's say even the government, they're putting some signs on the road, and if there is a rain, then you lower the speed, you put 2 hands on the wheel. That's the point where awareness is becoming very sufficient. Correct? Agree? As you're a little bit sleepy over here, we need to wake you. Question that I'm asking to myself all the time. Are we also aware of the things that are going outside in the cyber world? I want to show you a quick video. 1 minute. His was 1 minute 52. Mine is 1 minute. And I want to talk to you about it because I think we don't have enough knowledge or awareness about cyber. What is it? Have a look. So I don't know if you are aware, but in the last year, even 2 years, there is a war that we don't read it, don't know about it. There is less exposed in the media, but there is a third world war that calls the cyber war. Whether you want to believe it or whether you want to deny it, it's there. When we talk about cyber, there are some motivation. And the cyber today is attacking in a couple of levels. We will focus about the levels that are more relevant to us over here. But I want you to get a better understanding about what it's all about. So let's talk about James Bond stuff. So we have the espionage. We have an agent going to N server, planting N antivirus, take all the information, and everybody's happy. Well, that's something that happens, but I'm not sure about the agent itself, but it happens remotely. There is a war between nations. We'll talk about it later on. There is sabotage. How many of you tried to log into their bank account and they couldn't because server cannot be found or whatever? Plenty, I'm sure. Some of the reason is because hackers or other people are using that in order to create a sabotage, to damage the reputation of one bank or another. And I'm saying bank only as example. It could be any facility, corporate, or whatever there is. Let's talk about cybercrime. Are you aware of this new growing industry of ransom? Getting an email, simple email. I saw you here or there. I'm going to share this information worldwide unless you pay me 1 Bitcoin coin. Is that correct to say Bitcoin coin? Bitcoin. This 1 Bitcoin changed everything. Because the minute we are there, we have become, whether we like it or not, involved into a ransom and into a cybercrime. We have the subversion. The DDoS. Who knows what DDoS is? Denial of service, which is a major threat as well, especially in this country now when it's becoming more and more relevant. All this e-digital, everything goes on e. Log into the internet, connect Virgin Active, you get another 10 points. Everything is there. The damage is very crucial, and it's also infecting our lifestyle. Because we have become more and more dependent into this internet world and into this e-concept. There is now e-wallet, there is e-health, there is everything is there, and that's what we are talking about. Are you aware that the overall damage of the cybercrime last year was estimated at $400 billion? Let's all of us take the phones and do the calculation with today current exchange rate. I don't know how much is it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. If I was President Zuma, I would say 3,100,000,000,000 or something like that. But that's the point over here, and we all need to be aware of that. Most of the applications that we are using today are already being hacked. We are downloading applications. My son, my 8-year-old son, ruined my wife's phone. Why? Games after games after games until he found a very nice application. Look, Dad, I can create a picture. And by that, he destroyed the phone. This is something that's there. We are not aware of it. Not because we are stupid, because there was no one that actually came and explained it to us. We didn't have an internet driver lessons like we had on the car. They just gave us a new system. Who has bought the late, by the way? You are not good. You only promote Apple. I have the Samsung watch. I just got it. That's a major threat as well. So this threat landscape today has become more and more vulnerable towards us. So let's split the cyber to two. Let's kill this bird and then we'll focus on our business. So cyber, it's two things, either terror or either crime. Terror, mainly government attacking critical infrastructure or any other sensitive area that they want to achieve it, to use it for political or terror attack. The problem with the cyber terror that usually it takes humans being alive. That's not. However, we are focusing on the cybercrime. Cybercrime is more and more aggressive towards us because it attacks individuals and also companies. It attacks everybody. Cybercrime doesn't see either color or religion or country or border. It just attacks. And the way to do it, there are a couple of ways. Whoever, let's do it in the other. What is your hobby?
Mine.
Yeah. What do you like to do?
The desert.
Sorry?
The desert.
Desert. Excellent. What will you do if I will send you an email that says, come for a month trip at the Israeli desert, free of charge? Only click that button, we'll contact you.
I'll send you an email with 2 X's.
Well done. But unlike you, a lot of people will press that click. And by doing that, they have been penetrated by using the phishing attempt. Well done. Lucky for your answer. And it's good that we coordinated outside. I mean, that was very... However, there are so many tactics that we are not aware of them. And you need to understand it has become a battlefield. Let's talk about cybercrime. What defines cybercrime as cybercrime? So you have a list over here. It's plenty of it. It starts with a card fraud. It goes into a still phishing. It moves even more than that. All the way that it goes into your lottery tickets. All of that, at the end of the day, is getting a name tag of cybercrime. Cybercrime is here. And today, in this small presentation, I would like to change your mindset for you to understand that cybercrime is here, and that's maybe the good news. The bad news, it's here to stay. It won't leave us. Albert Einstein said he doesn't know which weapon they will use in the Third World War, but on the Fourth, they will go back to stones and to sticks. Because we are becoming more and more. I mean, you just created in the beginning of the presentation, Graham already started a new business model, which obviously we'll have to deal after the presentation. How we plant the chips into the babies. That will be the next step. And you need to understand, it's going over there, whether we want it or not. So the cyber battlefield is a problematic one. And you guys over here, coming from South Africa, are totally aware of what's going on over here in terms of crime. So you have the criminals and you have the defenders. Always the criminals are coming with the upper hand because they always have another way to break our system. They always have another way to go into our office or to our building or to our house. It's the same thing with the cyber. No matter how much we will create a harder defense, no matter how much we will increase the defense mechanism, the gap between us towards the attackers is extremely big. The reason is the black market. Black market today is an amazing place. All of us here in the room, individuals, can log into YouTube and get a very detailed video that tells them how to penetrate into a server. Simple. The black market is full of syndicates, mainly from China or some other countries, that are offering their service. Come, where do you want to penetrate? We'll help you. You can go today by using Google only and download free software that can assist you and help you penetrate or plant some kind of a Trojan horse. By the way, your Discount key is full of it. Joking. Hey. That was too much. But it's free and it's there. And there are syndicates today that are using those people later on to encrypted files. And then, Graham, you get an email. All of your data is being encrypted. Give me 500 Bitcoin. I'll send you the key to release it. And that's what the world is going to do. For rent. Yeah, obviously they don't aware of the currencies. Yeah. Don't think it's smart. So the current players today in terms of national, we are talking about the big three, United States, Russia, China. Less relevant to me. I'm more focusing about the syndicates. Syndicates are coming from those countries. Syndicates are coming from Indonesia, are coming from Nigeria, are coming from East Ukraine. I had a meeting 4 years ago with a bank in South Africa. I won't mention the name. And during my meeting over there, when the lady told me that she is completely safe, I told her, okay, what happened 2 months ago when 156,000 credit card numbers got revealed up on the social network, social media? I was lucky that she was safe. Then she asked me, how do you know? I said, well, look at the syndicates. They're already publishing. Information is out. There are two main industries that are getting really hit at the moment. First of all is the financial sector, because I don't think that I need to explain it. It's there. To get financial information of banks, to use it, to cooperate. But the most growing industry in terms of hacking today is the healthcare. A health data, the PHI, correct? I always mix it up. The personal health information that you have on one another. That's priceless. If I can tell you that Steve over here is suffering from, I don't know, continuously flu, nobody will hire him. He's always sick. Take it a little bit more. I don't want to give personal examples, but you understand the threat. And the threat is there. The attack is worldwide. Web, emails, social engineering. We'll talk a little bit about it right now. But I want you to understand that the given fact is that it's almost impossible to protect it. I bought a new laptop. This one over here. I got new antivirus. Who has antivirus on his laptop? Perfect. Do you think you're protected? No. Who thinks he's protected? Because he just got upgraded today in the morning. Who thinks he's protected? Well, that's true. No one. Antivirus can protect 17% of what he knows. There are so many threats that the antivirus is getting upgraded only after something is happening. So I'm trying to tell you that at the end of the day, we are not protected. No matter how much money we will spend on those devices or those softwares, we are not protected. Let's talk about the attack vectors. So you said that you will send it to me back. Let me ask a simple question. Whoever in this room got today, yesterday, in the last year, a suspicious email that he thinks it's a virus, can he raise his hand? Tom, obviously, I think I know what you're doing, so you're the bad guy to ask. But what will you do with it? You got the email. What are you doing here?
We've got some send it to the IT security guy.
Perfect.
It's our trust.
Obviously, from your organization, you are treating it well. Who here ever sent it to the IT or escalated to the next level, like something weird over here? We don't have this awareness. We don't even have, and I think that's also fit to your environment, a drill, a response drill. How do we respond to something like that? The vectors today are big. So let's start with some of them. Social networks. LinkedIn, all of us, I think. Facebook, most of us. Hello, Peter, no one. Okay? Try it. I have shareholders over there. I'm trying to promote it. Social network, as Graham mentioned, is today one of the best grounds or landscapes for the hackers to get information. I'm not saying they are attacking through that, but it's an excellent tool to build a profile on the person that you want to attack. Because I know that Shai, my friend, we have a mutual friend. How do we know it? We talked about it at the car. A lady named Rona. We know that we are together. I can send him an email and tell him, hey Shai, Rona says hello. I need you to send me this and that and that and that. So Shai is a bad example. He will obviously immediately will identify that that's a phishing. But a lot of other people will do 1, 2, plus 1, and they will get the right answer. Because a lot of the attacks today are third party. If I want to attack a certain organization, I will attack to one of his suppliers that has limited defense. So it will be easy for me to approach him through that and to get into the organization. Mobile. So I'm using 2 mobiles, 1 phone, 1 watch, laptop. At my house I have 2 tablets. So that means I have 5 different disasters. 5. They are all connected to the same cloud, as Graham mentioned. They are all connected to the same data storage, as Graham mentioned earlier as well. But not all of them are protected the way they should be. Because, I mean, guys, it's a watch. Who will attack a watch, for God's sake? But it's easy to attack the watch. Who have over here the new credit card, the NFC? You know what I'm talking about? Oh, brilliant. Do you have it with you? So I need to bring mine again. Oh my goodness. I got it yesterday. I'll do it again. Hey. I want to show you. This is my new credit card. Don't write the number. However, you can have a look at the back. There is those 3, 4, 5. That shows that that's the NFC. That means that I don't need to give it anymore to the guy with the machine. He can just attach a terminal into that. And that's it. Can I tell you about a fraud? You know, in New York, a guy got caught using the same terminal that we are paying at restaurants. And he's getting to people's wallets, and he just bring it next to it. And he's doing a small amount, $30. What is $30? Not in South Africa. What is $30? What is $30 in New York? It's nothing. Will you ever pay attention that you got $30 out of your pocket? Not at all. That's a fraud. And that's a problem with these devices. So when we say bring your own device, that's exactly what we're talking about. Very important issue is the human factor. And I want to talk about it quickly. I'm going to give you a fact. And it's a given fact. You cannot debate it. I'll prove you wrong. 1% of your staff in your organization is 75% of your threat. Think about it. It's a given fact. We are not investing enough in training. We are not investing enough in response. We are not investing enough in drills. We are not investing enough in awareness. And the human factor is becoming more and more threat, because tomorrow morning I'm going to fire this gentleman over here. He's fired. He's not happy now. The damage that he can create to my system will be devastating. So I'm not saying now before you are firing somebody, log him out. You know, I'm using my fingerprint. Somebody told me, if you come to the office and the fingerprint doesn't work, well, forget the resign letter, you are just fired, so go home. But gentlemen, you need to remember, you need to deal those things open. The threats are there. Change of mindset. Do you all know the black swan perception? 1 in a million will have a black swan. That's, by the way, the mindset today with most of the chairmen, CEOs, CIO, ExCo. Who will attack me? Why should they attack me? They will go to attack Steve over there. I'm no one. Well, that's wrong. Change your mindset. The question is not if I will be attacked. The question is when you will be attacked. One of the things we are offering in this BDO lab is the fact that we can check and examine your vulnerability towards the threat outside. Obviously, there is no limit to that. You know, you can buy a car and you can take the best car ever and you can install so many mechanisms inside of the car, but at the end of the day, you're the driver. But we can offer you a little bit better roadmap to understand what are the threats and where is your vulnerability and how you can prevent in the future the minor error. But you know, the minor one creating the bigger one, and then we are in a problem. Attack comes normally in different stages. So first of all, we break to the network, we hackers. But then they are sitting in your environment for unbelievable time. Guys, an average attack before it's being detected, it's about 280 days. That means that the guys are sitting in your organization, reading you, feeling you, hearing you. They know exactly what is wrong, they know what you're going to do next. 280 days. Once they discover all of your area, they are starting to create a battle. Once they create that, they are acting. Shai over here will give you the best examples of what happened in the world, so you can get a better understanding of how it happens and what was the upcoming result. And, of course, the end. The end is that the data sends to the attacker, and then you are in the attacker's hands. He can do whatever he wants with you. And today, as we said earlier, the ransom issue is becoming more and more relevant, and a lot of organizations are falling to this trap. And we are saying to you, no, that's where we are coming into the picture. We are getting the control, helping you to deal with those cases, helping you to retaliate, helping you to do a very fast first response, and of course, to minimize the damage that can happen into them. So we said traditional approach is failing. The breach is not there. It's only a matter of when, as I mentioned. I did told you that 200 days is the average of discovery if you had been breached or hacked into the system. 80% of the organization around the world are lack of awareness, knowledge, what to do, who to talk to, what to report. Sometimes they're even shy because they're afraid if I will report, maybe the guys at the IT will see that during the working hours, God forbidden, I was on Facebook and I will be fired. So that creates its own problems. But the biggest issue is that one. Once you've been aware that you've been attacked, organization takes weeks and months before they start to act. Question is, and that's very crucial to the gentleman who sits, the ladies of course, in this room. What have you done to prevent it? What is your personal liability when it comes to prevent cyber attacks? Were you aware of the threats and still keep on going without dealing with those threats? Were you aware and said, it won't happen to me? That's the personal liability, and that's a crucial point which we all need to remember. We cannot prevent attacks. Everybody needs to understand it and to be aware of it. It is impossible to prevent an attack. However, if we'll act smart, we can mitigate the damage. Change the mindset, becoming a little bit more proactive. Change password, doing drills, using a little bit of intelligence, online gathering information to understand what is the environment and where the environment is going on. And to create a lot of awareness inside our organization. Even if it means that now we need to simulate. If we need to create a drill inside the organization, the same as we are doing a fire drill, the same as we are doing evacuation of building, we need to create the same thing. We can assist you doing it to understand what we need to do in order to prevent or to mitigate the attack at the site. Cyber insurance, more and more, is becoming more relevant. I'm not going to go into that. We have Shai over here that will elaborate more about it. But at the end of the day, the ball is in our court, and we need to decide what we are doing with it. We can throw it away and we can say, it was never there, or we can say, fine, we understand this game, we are learning the rules, and now we are starting to play this game fairly, because we want to protect ourselves. Please remember, cyber is not CSI cyber anymore. It's by far more than that. And it's here, and it's here to stay, and we all need to be focused on that specific field. Question, anyone? I'll hand it over to Shai, and we'll continue from there.
You managed to scare me. Well, I'm not going to try to scare you. I'm just going to try and give you some solutions that are available today in the market in order to deal with some of these risks. We don't have all the answers, but we have some answers and we have some experience in how to deal with these things. And I'll tell you about it, and this will connect me very well to what BDO are doing here with their Cyber Lab, which is a great example of something that we encourage our clients to do worldwide. Just before I start my presentation, I'd like to ask you to look at question number 3. And just, if anyone could give me the answers that you gave there. Do you know who to contact in case you're a victim of a cyber event? Anybody? IT department, your lawyer, your wife, your children? I always contact my wife. Anybody? IT department? Would you?
I would, if our organisation was attacked, a small organisation, I'm Chief Financial Officer of IT. Basically, it's a problem people coming to me. My first port of call would be to either my internal or external auditors to deal with the problem. Our internal audit function is performed like BDOs advising them, or speak to each other, and I do have other friends and people who are in this kind of business, and I have had occasion to believe there could be a problem, and I have contacted people that are in this line of work.
I'll come back to this question throughout my presentation, because if you did have insurance, one of the first things you would do is you would contact your incident response team. They have a 24/7 call-in number. They would probably be your first people to contact. They would be the architects of the event. They would use your IT department, they would get your PR, they would get your lawyers, they would get the experience that they have worldwide. So we'll come back to this. Just a few words about myself and where I come from. I come from Howden. Howden is an international broker. We're based in London. We have 120 offices around the world in 42 countries. We are the largest employee-owned insurance group. Employee-owned because we own 70% of the business, and 30% of the business belongs to a big American VC called General Atlantic. General Atlantic, if you don't know them, they invested, they're one of the first investors in Facebook, LinkedIn, Airbnb, Alibaba, and so on. So we see us as sort of a startup. We are the winners of the Cyber Academy Award. These are some of our clients around the world. Men with obviously look at FIFA, UEFA, women, H&M, DEFA, and so on. So we have quite a global reach out. I've been in the insurance business for 30 years. I'm going to show you that insurance is not a boring place to be in for 30 years. But I did get bored after 10 years in the insurance. I thought that, insurance was invented 300 plus years ago in a coffee shop in London. And this industry, it's very traditional. It's almost boring. No offense to us, yes?
Yeah.
No. And after 10 years, I found that there is a revolution going around me. What am I doing? Sitting around waiting for the revolution to pass by me. And I thought, what can I do? How can I connect the knowledge that I have in insurance and the knowledge that I have in technology and try and invent something new? Something new in insurance. So I was probably the third or fourth or fifth subscriber of the internet in Israel. In the early days, it was 1996. And I started looking in the internet. It opened all of a sudden a lot of opportunities for me. So I started looking for people around the world that had the same thoughts. So we had something like a think tank of about 10 people. And we started writing what today is the fastest growing segment of insurance. Believe me, in 1997, when we started doing it, we never, in our wildest dreams, thought that this is going to be the fastest growing segment of insurance. But we did it. And for many, many years, we walked around, I would say, like Moses in the desert, preaching and preaching, educating everybody, but nobody was buying. My wife was complaining, you're traveling, you're educating, where's the money? Show me the money. Nothing happened. And things did happen a little bit, because in 2004 in the United States, HIPAA came around. Anybody know what HIPAA is? It's a regulation in the United States regarding how you maintain your medical data. And so, when HIPAA came along, people started doing policies, insurance policies, because you could insure the fines and penalties. And then 2008, 2009, 2011 came along, and 48 states around the United States today, you have what we call notifications. You have to notify your clients that you have been breached. It may sound awkward to people around here in South Africa. You need to come out to your clients and say, I have been breached. Somebody was inside my systems. Somebody is taken out. It doesn't even matter if it's emails, phone numbers, social security number, any information out of your system, you need to come out and say, this is happening not only in America. In the end of 2016, we will see it in Europe. Regulations in Europe are going to be the same as the United States, and it's going to be probably all over the world. In Australia now they have regulations regarding notification. And that brought another wave of insurance. People started applying for 70 million customers' information are out somewhere in the black market. So they started looking inside and they found out that there has been a breach to their systems. Of course, they notified. Costed them $40 million to notify, just to notify the market. That means notification, just so you understand what notification is, you need to set up a 24/7 call-in center so people can call in and say, my card has been out and you've notified me by email, by letter. By the way, when you have to notify by letter, a letter in the United States costs 52 cents. Multiply 52 cents by the number of people that their data is out in the market, and you see only the notification. Who pays for this? Forensic, legal costs, public relations. Wow, it's a huge bill, $340 million. And look at the right, class action damages have not been settled. 25 class actions against Target. CIO went home. CEO went home, board of directors, some of them had to go home. This is a major, major earthquake in the United States. So everybody woke up on the 1st of January 2014, people sitting around, board of directors, CEOs, CIOs, CSOs, everybody started saying, what are we doing about this thing? It's no longer in theory. It's happening. We have to get the money from somewhere. What do we do about cybersecurity? Who is responsible in our organization for cybersecurity? What do we do? That's started big questions around how we insure, what do we do with insurance. By the way, two interesting facts. Target was very well protected. It was PCI level 2. They invested a lot of time and money into security. But one thing that they didn't think about is that they had third-party people connected to their system. The hackers were smart enough to hack into an engineer that had the permission to go into the air conditions of Target, and through that engineer they came into the point of selling, took 70 million data. Target also had cyber insurance $100 million. The insurance company, we have here AIG and Allianz, and they know it quite well. Some of them I won't mention where it is sitting and paying out money in this event. They came out and said, take the $100 million. We already know it's going to be above $100 million. And yes, they were right, $340 million. December 2013, Sheldon Adelson, I don't know if you know him, is a big American rich guy that owns a lot of the casinos in Macau and in Las Vegas, was giving a very patriotic speech about how the Iranians and the nuclear plan and what they're doing and how this is going to destroy the world and so on and so forth. And the Iranians didn't like this. So they got their weapons of war, asked some of their hackers to try and hack into his casino. They tried, they could not hack into the casino. Good sign. But they hacked into his hotels. Las Vegas Sanders. Now you are asking yourself, what damage can be caused to a hotel if there's a denial of service, if somebody attacks it, what Well, no check-in, no check-out. There's no computers, you can't check in, you can't check out. You can't open your rooms because they're all connected to the computer. You cannot clean the rooms, so you cannot get people into the hotel. No food and beverages, it's all connected to the computer systems. No internet, no movies, no TV, no nothing. Back to the Stone Age. It's just a hotel. No, who would think that a hotel would be such a big disaster? Damages over $40 million. Like that. No notification, no nothing. Business interruption. JP Morgan, small American institution, invested in 2014 $150 million in cybersecurity, invested $500 million in 2015 to 16. We don't know how much it's going to invest. We know that they bought a policy of $500 million. It's the biggest policy that there is in the market. Still, they got hacked. 75 million individual information came out. So, what you can see is even if you're spending the money, it's not only the money. We are finding it very hard to protect ourselves against these events. March 2015, the US government discovers that the HR system of the government has been hacked. 10 million datas of American employees working for the government, their personal information, their personal files is out somewhere. Immediately they notice it's the Chinese. What did the Chinese want from the American HR? Well, if you know the sexual preferences of somebody, where they come from, married, not married, maybe you can one day use it in order to get somebody extorted. The American president and the Chinese president, they sit down and say, okay, you stop this, I stop this. It doesn't hold money, doesn't hold water. They're still continuing. And America is spying on Russia. Russia is spying on China. China is spying on America. American contractors are not taking any Chinese. Huawei is out of the question. All the Chinese computers, Americans don't want to use them anymore. Of course, the Americans on Google, Windows, everybody, they have their own dashboards. Everybody is spying on everybody. August of 2014, you must have heard of this event. It was a big event. Everybody walked into the Sony Entertainment one day in the morning, and they opened their computers like you do every day in your work, blue screens. Nothing happens. So the first thing that they do is, like you said, they go to the IT. IT starts looking around, and all of a sudden they understand that there is a malware in the system. And it's going to take a long time to bring this malware. One thing they don't know is how much data was leaked out. For those of you who don't know, and we're not members of this, we're trying to be polite here, we're guests. So in any case, it started as hacktivism, not hackers, hacktivism. Somebody said, oh, this is evil, blah, 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 blah. He was out for money. And they took out the names of everybody, and they sent them out an email to those people that were using this website. Please pay us $1 Bitcoin. If not, we will put your name out on the web. Now you're thinking to yourself, when you go to sleep, $1 Bitcoin, $500, my wife, marriage, divorce, how much it's going to cost me? Let's pay $500. And that's what most people did. They paid $1 Bitcoin. These guys made millions and millions and millions of dollars just getting a Bitcoin from it.
One of the worst things was a lot of people just come from their business.
Or fake addresses.
It wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Using your company address and you putting your company to distribute as well.
By the way, I don't know if any of you have ever been to the dark net. It's not that dark. It looks exactly like the web we're using, but it's criminals. So you could be doing, like Roy said, asking somebody to hack into somebody, and you would give him £6,000 or something. Denial of service attack. There's a menu of things. You can even inflict or install child pornography of somebody in your office that you don't really like, and you think that you want him to get fired. Because everybody is very, very exposed. It's not a very nice place to be. But we have to know about it, because a lot of the criminals are out there. By this point you must be saying, yeah, but they are all American corporations, they are big corporations, and it's all in America. Yeah, true. Most of the things are happening in America. But it's no longer happening just in America. I brought you some example of something that happened in the UK. We had a couple of examples. This is just an example that we had from October of 2015. TalkTalk. Anybody know them? Like Vodafone, like a provider of mobile phones and so on. So TalkTalk is an organization that was hacked, and you can see the damage to TalkTalk. 100,000 customers left them. But the good thing is what they did is they had the experience. So 2 teams came in and started operating. One team went on the web and started negotiating with the extorter. So they started negotiating, asking them, what is a Bitcoin? How do we get Bitcoins? Where do we buy these Bitcoins? Like they don't really know. The other team went to the backups. Because if you do have backups, and you do your backups quite well, and every once in a while you check that the backup comes up and there's no malware in the backup, then you're all right. Then they can try and extort you. It's like locking your door. It's like making sure that when you go to sleep, you put on the alarm. It's these things. You do the good backups, you check the backups. Well, if there is somebody trying to extort you, they can try. So we didn't pay them. But in the end of this event, you should have seen the gratitude of the client to us. He said, I don't believe I paid $5,000 for this policy. I got such a treatment. I would never have known what to do. I don't have an IT department. I have somebody, a man dealing with my computers. What would I have done if you didn't come in? So this is exactly the place that a good incident response team can make the difference between a business that goes out of business or pays a lot of money or stays in business. This is just another example that I brought. I don't know if there are people from the health industry, but Roy said the price of PHI, Roy, give me 5 minutes before because I can speak for hours. PHI, personal health information. Personal health information on the dark web is worth much, much more than PII or personal identifiable information and social security numbers. This is a case where hackers hacked into a Hollywood hospital. Doctors did not want to operate. They said there is a malware in the system. If I go into the operating room and something goes wrong with the system because you haven't cleaned the malware, because you haven't paid the extorter, it's my professional indemnity. I'm not going to. So they had to shut down the hospital. the end of the day, you know how much these guys pay? $17,000. So these hackers are small petty hackers. They said $3.6 million, but they said, you know, it's a day's work, I have to go back, you know, what am I going to tell my boss? I haven't made any money today, so $17,000, that's good. It's not very sophisticated hackers, and I'll tell you who the sophisticated hackers are. I'm not going to try and segment the market again for you, because I think that Graham and Roy did a good job telling you how we segment the market. I just want to highlight one thing. The internal threat is one of the biggest problems that we have, and that we still don't have the technology to deal with the internal threat. We do have firewalls, we do have intruder detections, honeypots, you name it. We have all the best technology, and we're getting more and more technology to deal with the outside threat. But the inside threat, the non-malicious employee, the innocent employee that thought that because I'm his boss and I send him a mail that looks like a mail from me, he has to open it and give me his password and name. How do you do this? Education, education, education. There are some insurance companies that will help you do that. They will even give you free software to drill on your employees, because they want you to make sure that your employees are well prepared. By the way, Roy, it's 500, and the number, believe me or not, it's not 500. Maybe 3 times more than that. Because people are still shy in sharing their information. So if you're a bank or you're a financial institution, or you're a health institution, and you don't have notification laws allowed in your country, why should you notify anybody? It doesn't look good. If you're a big law office going in through a big merger now, and somebody is just sitting around your office, floating around, a smart hacker, not like the idiot with the 17,000. Smart one. He just wants to see who is selling, who is buying, who is merging, who is not merging. He's just getting information. And all of a sudden you find out that he's been there for a year and a half. Will you notify your clients? You don't have to. So I think the number is much, much higher, but we are hiding from each other. And by the way, the smart hackers are not. In the dark web, everywhere, they're sharing information between themselves. They're being really smart. They're also giving you guarantees. So if you bought, yeah?
Shai, just to share some information, bring it closer to home. The estimate of the cost of cyber crime in South Africa is about 6 billion rand.
Wow. So it's not small, huh?
Not small at all.
This is what Hacker's Office looks like. It looks like any high-tech company. And they have targets. And that's why that guy took $17,000, because I have my daily target. And I'm coming to the closing of the day. Let's take the 17 and not the 3.6. And they're smart. A lot of them are sitting in very open territories that are feeling that they can do it. Ukraine, the Eastern Europe places, very educated people, engineers, computer people, coming out of university, no employment. What should they do? If I'm a good hacker, I can make millions. If I'm a bad one, I make $100,000 a month. $100,000 a month. All I have to be is a bad hacker. Huh? Igal. Good money. Think about it. So this is how we segment 5 minutes. I have so much to tell you. So this is how we segment the market. But really, if you want to place yourself, don't worry about these guys. we call them strip kiddies, those ones sitting at home, 13, 14, they want to show their friends that we can infiltrate into a bank, we can take information from the FBI, we can take, you can protect it quite well. If you lock your door, put on the alarm when you go to sleep, you're all right. These are the ones that are problematic. Targeted ones. And we're still trying to fight them. And the better we prepare, the better we will be. So I'll give you the last 5 minutes, they brought me to talk about insurance, yeah? So I have to give you some insurance speech. So anyway, cyber policies are very much like any other insurance policies. Third party and first party. Third party are all the damages and claims that you can get from people. For example, you send an innocent mail to one of your colleagues in another company. You didn't know that it had a malware. He opened the email. A malware shut down your client's company for 3 days. He can claim it from you. We have lots and lots of claims like that around the world. But the more disturbing one is the first part, the business interruption. Who pays for all the damages, the 40 million, 100 million, 150 million, 200 million? Who pays for that? What happens to this hotel? What happens to your business? Just ask yourself, if you don't have computers in your business, BDO office without computers. No billing hours, no people after 2 hours, they can go home. What can they do? They don't have the computers. And what I want to highlight, and if I haven't highlighted it enough, it's the 24/7 crisis panel, the incident response team, and so on and so forth. But before I finish, I know people in Israel would be asking themselves, how much is this costing me? How much is this costing me? Well, I'm going to tell you how much it's costing you. Okay? It's not very expensive. It's cost between 0.5% of the limit of liability to 2.5% of the limit of liability. So if you're buying $100 million, you're either paying $500,000 or $2.5 million. By the way, Target paid $500,000 for the $100 million limit of liability they had before they had. Now they're paying $5 million. That's the highest you can get. That's because you've got $100 million and you're paying the price. So this is it. The limits of liability in the market today are around 150 million, 200 million. You can get the policies. And let's talk 1 minute what you need in order to get these policies. Because we do have challenges. We are still building our information better. We still don't know how to underwrite perfectly. We're changing a little bit, The way we underwrited a few years ago is very different from the time we're doing now. A few years ago, we underwrite pretty much like when you have a car, You can either bring the hood, call it the hood, and start drilling into the engine and taking it apart and checking does it have oil. Well, we don't know how to do it. We have to do it. So we ask the driver questions. How much do you drive? When do you drive? What hours do you drive? Did you have accidents? That's how we pretty much underwrite it. Now we are much, much more complicated. That's where it comes to these guys that want to help you. If you want to get good price in the market today, if you want to get good policy or even get an insurance policy, underwriters definitely, if you want higher limit of liability, we want to see an on-site assessment that you've had, some kind of assessment. They will want to see some kind of a business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan. They want to know that you're prepared. They want to know that if they're out there to pay you the money, you've done something. And so it becomes a little bit like a beauty contest. If you're a good client coming to the market, and because there is more demand for the product and less capacity to provide the product, it becomes like a beauty contest. So if you're a good client, we'll take you. If you're a mediocre or bad client, go prepare yourself. Come back when you're ready. So you have to prepare yourself. But these guys here with their lab and the technology and the assessment can help you do that. It's very, very important that you come to the market and well prepared. Because if you don't come well prepared, either you pay the price or you don't get insurance at all. So much I want to tell you, but we have to leave it. Just last thing, I told you I started 10 years ago, but the market until 2012 was about $850 million. In insurance terms, it's almost non-existent. It's so tiny. It's not even the tip of the iceberg. This year we're ending in 2015. We ended around $3.5 billion worldwide of premium. It's going to go up. 2020, it's going to be $85 billion. Why? Because in 2020, 50 billion devices are going to be connected to the internet. Your refrigerator will talk to your supermarket that it doesn't have enough eggs to send it to you in the evening. And your autonomous car that will be in 2025 will be driven alone. So you can have your coffee on your way to work, but then it can also be hacked on your way to work. So you'd be buying cyber insurance for your house, you'd be buying cyber insurance for your car, you'd be buying cyber for sure in the next 12 to 24 months. And come back to me. If you don't, I'll buy you lunch. If you don't have... I'll come here, don't worry.
For a very quick question.
Yeah.
Time constraint, but I need to ask you.
Yeah.
You're at the point where you're insuring against events you don't necessarily have visibility or control over. At what point does the market going to start insisting on assurance for insurance? So in other words, capabilities, measures, controls, and methods within a business to minimize risk and mitigate risk for a better insurance policy. Are you at that point there?
We are definitely at this point. We have lots and lots of technology that we're now bringing into the insurance world. And the insurance world is going through a revolution, not an evolution. What you will see in the next year or two is going to be a real revolution, because we are not going to be able to underwrite this business anymore if we will not have technology. Technology has to go hand in hand with the underwriting, because we must ask our clients to have mitigation, to have the firewalls, to have all these technology. Otherwise, we won't be able. It's going to be another asbestosis of the insurance world.
So outside of the base requirements, are you going to start recognizing your own or alternatively third-party assurance measures for risk and then cover costs as well?
Yes, exactly. And we're looking, if you have some kind of a technical device that you think is the right one, bring it to us.
I think the day of technology is over. I think that's actually well exploited. I think the day of practice, process, and procedure, education, and information and assertion is probably where things are.
I think we can have a long discussion, but I believe that the world is going into prediction rather than.
The point I'm trying to make is the evolution of all of that is very fast. But more importantly, if you're starting to look at insurance, there's a premium that you have to pay for insurance at the moment to give you the insurance.
Yeah.
The offset of the discount for assurance needs to be measurable and material. And that's really what I'm interested in understanding.
And definitely we're doing it. We already have technology and devices. If you install them, we're ready to give you a discount in the insurance. For example, assessing your third-party providers. If you have a tool to assess your third-party providers, you're a better client than somebody that hasn't assessed his third-party providers.
It's a very costly undertaking, so if we go from out.
To assess third-party providers?
Yeah.
Talk to me. We have a tool with AIG that we've developed.
The tool is gaining access to a third-party or a B2B partner's systems and processes with assurance without getting access to information.
I'll show you how we do it worldwide. Believe me, to do it for JP Morgan or big organizations in the States is the same problem. And it's a costly thing, but we manage to overcome this. So guys, really thank you very much. There are a lot of underwriters out there. Definitely in South Africa, you have AIG and Allianz that can help you. We can help you. If you need any help, ask questions. I'm still here until Thursday evening, then I'm going back, but you can have my business card, ask me any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.